Hello everybody and welcome to my channel where we discuss all matters related to moving and living in Costa Rica. Now part of that is keeping up with all the local regulations. For many years it has been common for foreign buyers that purchased property in Costa Rica to title that property in the name of a Costa Rican company. It was a relatively simple, inexpensive process with very little annual maintenance requirements. These companies acted as a holding company. It generally did not have any economic activity, and the government considered them as inactive for tax purposes. Now, all that has been gradually changing over the years. As Costa Rica became a member of the OECD, it has had to adopt its transparency and information exchange agreements. Now, as the Costa Rican legislature approves these new laws, then the owners of Costa Rican companies must comply with these regulations. This has caught many foreign owners who have either not been aware or ignored these requirements by surprise. And the surprise is that the government will either block or administratively dissolve the companies for non-compliance. As such, in this video, what I'm going to do is go over all the requirements that you're going to need to consider for 2022 and beyond if you already own a Costa Rica company or are considering setting one up. The first item on the list is the annual company tax. This is a tax that must be paid by all companies, either active or inactive. The tax is always due by January 1st of the year. It is administered by the Costa Rican Department of Revenue. The amount to be paid will vary on a yearly basis since the amount is pegged as a percentage of the official base salary of a government employee, called the salario base. Now for 2022, the base salary was set at 462,200 colones. The company tax for inactive companies is 15% of that. That means that an inactive company will pay 69,330 colones, which is about 110 US dollars at current exchange rates for 2022. Now for active companies, the company tax can range from 25% to 50% of the base salary, and that's going to depend on the gross income of the company as reported on the company tax return. These typically range between $182 to $365 per year for this company tax for active companies. If your company falls behind for 3 consecutive payments of this annual tax, it's going to be added to a list of companies that will be administratively dissolved by the government. Once this happens, it cannot be reverted. This tax can be paid at any branch of Banco de Costa Rica, or if you have a Costa Rican bank account, you can pay it directly through the online payment portal to the account of the Ministry of the Treasury. Now, if you don't have a local account, then check with local banks in your area to see if you can pay it at their branch. Now, let's move on to the income tax return form D101. Now, traditionally, companies that were inactive, which were used to hold property, were exempt from having to file a D101 tax return, and logically so because they had no income or economic activity. On the other hand, those companies that generate income from local Costa Rican sources are considered active, and those are required to file the D101 tax return every year. So what has changed, which has created a lot of confusion lately? And that is that 2 years ago, the government required that starting this year in 2022, all inactive companies would have to file a D101 tax return, but only complete the portion related to disclosure of assets, liabilities, and stock structure. That deadline established by the government was to file by March 15th, 2022. Now, just a few days before the filing deadline was due, the legislature passed a law amending the description of inactive companies in the tax law and also extended the filing deadline for 3 months until June 15 of 2022. So the next question is, how do you file this D101 tax form? The way the tax department had originally set this up was by requiring inactive companies to enter into the system to file a D101 tax return. And the only way to do this is using the digital platform of the tax department called ATV. This is where some frustration for foreigners begins, since the system does not allow foreigners without residency to create an account. They would first need to apply to the tax department for what's called a NITE, which is a taxpayer identification number that would give them access to this ATV platform. I know this can be a bit dry, but if you hang in there till the end of the video, you will have all the information and knowledge that you will need to make sure that your Costa Rican company is fully compliant. So once you've created your account on ATV, you can try and do the filing on your own, or of course, the system will allow you to authorize a CPA to have access to your account so that that accountant can do the filing for you. If you are not able to create an account for whatever reason, then your only option will be to grant a special power of attorney to an accountant so that they can handle the filing for you. To grant that power of attorney, you're going to need to appear before a Costa Rican notary public to sign that document and have them authenticate your signature. If you're not in the country, then your company will have to hold a shareholder meeting in order to have the company grant a power of attorney to the local accountant tax the company. For inactive companies, the tax department has labeled this form as a Simplified D101, and what you're seeing on the screen is the current version available on the ATV digital tax platform. So, the part that you would need to complete is this section below, which starts at number 20 to provide the amount of cash, bank deposits, or accounts payable of the company. Number 21 is the capital stock contributions. 22 is any inventory owned by the company. 23 are the fixed assets that are owned by the company, less any depreciation. Then the system is going to calculate the company total assets in 24. Then you enter the liabilities in section 25, and the system in 26 will fill in the net capital. The next tax obligation that your company will have to pay is the annual education and culture stamp. This has been in existence since the 70s, but not heavily enforced until now. The tax is required of any company in Costa Rica, regardless if it is active or inactive. Payment of the tax is due between the months of February and March of every year. The amount to be paid is based on the amount of the capital stock of the company according to the following scale. For capital stock up to 500,000 colones, you pay 5,000. For stock between 500,000 to 2 million, 6,000. 2 million to 4 million, 12,000 colones. If the stock exceeds 4 million, you pay 18,000 colones. So roughly you're looking at between $8 to $28 a year. This tax is also payable to the Treasury Department, so you can pay it at any bank in Costa Rica that accepts government tax payments. The final obligation that we're going to review is not a new one, and it has been in effect now for a few years, and that is the Shareholder Beneficial Owner Disclosure Form. This filing is not with the Treasury Department, it is with the Central Bank of Costa Rica. Now, I have done several videos on how to file this declaration, so you can take a look at those in more detail, and I'll include a link in the description. This form is required to be filed annually or whenever there is a change of shareholders in your company. For 2022, the filing deadline is April 30th. The only way to file this form is on the Central Bank digital platform, and for that you require a Costa Rican digital signature card known as Firma Digital. For that, you need to have residency in Costa Rica. As such, if you cannot get a Firma Digital, then you will need to grant a special power of attorney to somebody in Costa Rica that does have this digital signature card to file it for you. The power of attorney must be granted before a Costa Rican notary or a Costa Rican consulate abroad, as the system requires that the power of attorney be in a public deed format. Now, you can check if a company is compliant with the beneficial owner form by going to this link here, entering the company identification number in this section, selecting the year, and then just hitting the check on the CAPTCHA form here, and then hit the consultar, which is check button, and then it'll tell you the result that the company is compliant or not with the beneficial filing form. You can do the same thing to check for the tax status of a company by going to the Ministry of Treasury website here, and then selecting search by identification number, which you can then insert in this section right here to conduct your search. Then you would enter the security CAPTCHA right in this information, then you hit the consultar, which is the search button, and there would be your results about this company. If the company owes any tax, it would indicate it right here, or if it has not filed any declarations, it would indicate that below here as well. In this case, the company, it says that it's no for both, which means that this company is compliant. If it's at C, then it means it's missing some tax filings or payments. So just to recap for 2022, number 1, pay your annual company tax. Number 2, file the D101 for active companies and the simplified version for any inactive company. Pay the education and culture stamp and file the shareholder beneficial owner disclosure form with the central bank. Thank you for watching this video, and if you have any comments or questions, go ahead and post them here. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel so we can keep this information flowing to you.